Force?
And the Force is what gives the Jedi his power. It's an energy field created by all living things. It surrounds us and penetrates us. It binds the galaxy together.
Welcome, everyone, to Being Immersed. I'm Erin Reilly, and today's theme is one that might feel invisible, but its presence shapes every great immersive experience: intuition. Now, we just watched a classic and probably one of my most favorite moments from Star Wars, where Obi-Wan Kenobi introduces the Force to a young Luke Skywalker. He describes it as something that surrounds us, penetrates us, and binds the galaxy together. And that, to me, is how intuitive design works. Now, you can't always see it, but you feel it. It's not the invisible choreo. It's really what it is. It's really the invisible choreography of a space. It's the reason you know to turn left instead of right. It's the reason that it's the quiet logic of light, form, emotion that guides you, not with instructions, but with resonance. And no one crafts that kind of experience quite like today's guest, Sayoko Osada, a Japanese-born multidisciplinary director and production designer who has worked with Nike, Beyoncé, National Geographic, and more. So today we'll journey through her multi-sensory world building to understand how she crafts experiences that feel deeply natural, even when they're wildly imaginative. Sayoko, I'm so excited to have you on Being Immersed. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, let's begin with intuition as like the physical and spatial awareness, that feeling when you enter a space and just know where to go. No signs, no instructions, just flow. Your Nike project does that, right? It physically shifts how people perceive their own bodies.
Yes. So the Nike project was you're referring to Thermosphere project, right?
Yes, the thermosphere.
Yeah. So that was one of my earlier projects. It's the product itself. So the project is for the product launch of Nike Thermosphere collection, which in itself is a very sensory product. It was designed to help people work out in a 0 degree cold, like ultra cold weather. So because of that, like the theme was to focus on the temperature as a theme to not only like practically highlight the to like the utility of the product, because it's Nike is a very tech forward, like innovative brand.
Probably the most innovative in my opinion.
Yeah, but also like it for it's also for the audience, for the people that are experiencing, to remember the the brand, the experience, the product in a way that is sensorial. So with that said, the concept that we came up with as collective group of strategists, production producers, and creatives like us, designers, we came up with this whole journey that was centered around that, from the journey of, from the moment you receive invited influencers, when they receive the invitation, that was made out of heat reactive paper. So like it was, the moment you like notice that, like, oh, like I'm feeling my body, right? Like body
So
temperature.
it's my body heat that kind of manipulated the invitation.
Exactly. Like when you touch it, it like changed the color, and you see your palm and holding the invitation. And so then, like when you first arrive at the experience, we converted a whole warehouse into this journey. When you first walk in, you see yourself through a heat. I think you showed it earlier. You see yourself as like just heat, like thermal camera. So you see yourself a silhouette, your other and walk through this space, into the tunnel, through the tunnel, into the main space. So the main space is like displays all the products in a immersive, basically like different like modules that are inspired by the shape of hexagon that are making up the molecules. So that was the main display, like to like showcase the products. But then the final, as the narrative journey goes, like the beginning, middle, end, the end was the when you actually physically experience sensorially experience the product. So we built this literal 0 degree weather environment using like this industrial huge like freezer.
Wow.
Like it was half, almost like third of the venue. And we built this basically like like immersive freezer where the guests like they went through this whole workout experience with the Nike instructor in front of this glacier that was
So
glacier
how long was this experience? So this was experiential branding at its best. Nike's very good at that. How long from like I see the influence received an invitation, then they were invited to this space.
Yes.
How long did it take to go there? And how did you guide the guest most effectively? Like, was there a flow, a path that they went through, or was it more open sandbox?
So it was guided experience. When you first arrived, there was this like kind of like a waiting room space that was it had like a light installation, like a light sculpture installation that was
Yeah.
kind of showing this like I think it was like 98.6. I can't remember the body temperature that was like very in the body. And so there's this pulsing light sculpture, and you were like waiting there, like everyone's like kind of like arriving. So then like when everyone's like arrived, and like because it's like you have to like kind of create a buffer for everyone to like be on the same page, like and then once everyone arrived, we ushered through, okay, open the door, like you're welcome, gonna like on board, like what to expect. And everyone walked through the tunnel, which is that thermal camera hallway where you saw yourself at
Yeah.
the end of the hallway. Everyone walking through, like like it's a major selfie moment. And then you walk into the product space. In the product space, that was all guided through like audio over voice over showcase. So like each product display like kind of lit up and like guided everyone through the moment of like audio, like voiceover describing the product in like a story, like narrative way. And each one, you walk up to each one to hear about it. And then you walk into the locker room where you change, where you got it to change. Everyone's moving at the same time, and then
Was it about like a 15-minute experience?
oh, it's much longer than that. Like I think it was like probably like I don't remember the exact, but probably about like 30 minutes from
30 minutes. Okay.
well, so 30 minutes from the entrance, like when you're
Yeah.
supposed to arrive, to the product like kind of like showcase moment. And then the second half, which is another 30 minutes, was the actual workout. So it is a whole like 30-minute, almost about 30-minute like workout experience where the instructor is like showing different moves, like go run, like lift, like jump, like just all this kind of like hit workout sequence.
Oh, right. That will totally connect to the sensory, like temperature experience, hot, cold, and everything. So I'm curious, this is definitely a kind of follow through flow. Everyone goes together through put for about an hour total. How did actually make it instinctive rather than over engineered? Or is it where, like I always say this in class, complexity is in the simplicity, like there's often the chance of like you have to create these kind of complex things behind, but where did you like make touch points where you didn't have to have someone guide it in the experience? It was more instinctive for people to actually do it.
Yeah, so I would say like I think the workout itself was very much so like I said, like the second half of the experience, the 30-minute or whatever, that was the all workout. So like the workout is like everyone's group in a group in this cold environment where you're like, wearing this like kind of freezing like in this Nike workout gear that is you're supposed to experience. And we had this glacier sculpture that was like made out of, like it was like a projection mapped basically it's a screen, like a huge sculpture that was like a projection mapping like sequences of environments. So like and obviously there's music, and there is a guiding like words coming from the instructor. However, that was like more for the movement, but like to imagine where you might be, like where you might be working out, what kind of senses that you can imagine yourself in wearing this full body gear.
Yeah.
It's something that was communicated through the temperature, the projection mapped, environment sequence, and I think music. So that's kind of like, I would say, um, it's the product itself, like the like the effect, and also what to do in terms of like movement or workout was like verbally described, so that you can understand the technicality of it, but the sensation and like the memories and like what you're supposed to, what Nike wanted to convey, like
Right.
was through all the different like in like nonverbal um got kind of interpretive, like personally interpretive experiences.
Got it. Let's switch to another project of yours, the Dead Fellas Zone 13, this post-apocalyptic nightclub.
It was not in there, but it was
It
fun.
had AR bats and a rooftop lore. Let's take a look at that.
There should be.
This is who I am. This is what I do. This is who I am. I'm the living proof. This is who I am. This is what I do. This is who I am.
Well, that's a sensory overload. It definitely created a cohesive underground world. I really love this. So what guided your spatial choreography in this environment? Like, how did you ensure guests instinctively knew how to move, where to look, how to feel?
Yeah, so we created this environment in a already like it was already a nightclub, so it was take place in elsewhere, which is a nightclub in New York. And but the way we created the experience like is by augmenting the like signature style that would make you feel like you're actually entering like Dead Fellas world. So like we use a lot of like neon signs, which are like quite iconic and like oftentimes like like sci-fi, um I would say like Blade Runner, for example, was like a good reference for a lot of these like kind of like wet floor. Like we actually wetted a floor and like glossy and like like a lot of like reflective materials we use to create this sort of like iconography that's like oftentimes in futuristic post-apocalyptic worlds. We also created the stage was like you when you first walk into the main space, it's clearly like it's like almost like a portal into the other world by seeing like it's framing the architecture of the entire room into that one visual world, at which is what you're seeing. This is a content format. And you're like you gather there. That's like a main, like clearly like it's like that's, but by having a lighting like that's like kind of gathering to the center of the space, visually like it's that's where you're at. Like you feel like it's like part of a metropolitan area, that's other world, like that's Dead Fellows world. The reason why it's Dead Fellows world is because people in the Web3 space, like, and I had to like learn all of this like when I was doing this project because I was not one of them.
Right.
But yeah, they built this whole like lore about like that like how the Dead Fellas like came out of like this Zone 13 like experiment that like went wrong kind of thing. And so these like green creatures that are like all these different characters that each NFT holder has as like a character, right? So like um, and so yeah, like I guess like these like architecture as well was like referenced as part of the world building.
And what we're looking here, like this is really a blend of digital, live, and narrative elements. And I'm curious from like your choices as a director, how did you know which medium to use to help kind of extend and create that world across so many platforms?
Yeah. So Web3 itself is like it's primarily lives online, right? Like um and so and the NFTs are all digital, images. So but this was an event that was meant to be a physical, like all the like communities coming from all over the world in physical space.
Right.
So to bridge that gap of, digital, like what you're seeing on the screens, like computer, to like physical space, and like it's a community like come to life that's like happening usually on Discord, but like in physical life,
Yeah.
was so that to convey that, we really activated like the characters as live elements. So like Betty and Psych are like the two, like basically like the leaders and founders of Dead Fellas. Like they're like the head dead, like Dead Fellas basically. So that's how we create these like holograms that are we use like motion capture tool, like to move to characters at the main
Were they
stage.
giant? It seemed like in the live space.
Yeah, it was like maybe like 15 feet tall or something. Like they kind of show up as like, like again, like a lot of reference for like Blade Runner, like a hologram that shows up and like talks to you, kind of like, hey, like, so it's like sort of like that moment we created so that it's like you feel that it's coming to life, and like a human quality that's behind the characters. And also these bats, there were another series of NFT collection from the Dead Fellas that are like creatures that live in this world. So like if you like put your camera up to see the space, in the you have to like activate the AI filter,
You see the
but
AR.
you see bats flying around. So it's almost like we used elements that are like not like, we didn't really print anyone, like, because like printing, that could be a thing, but like printing would have been,
That's not really a Web3 moment though, printing.
yeah, like I think it was more like we wanted to make sure like everything felt like very like digital,
Yeah.
like activated, rather than like it's like pretending like it's like a physical thing.
Right. So part of our intuition is like our internal compass, our emotion. And I think emotion really lives at the heart of what intuition is. It's not just where we go in the spaces, it's how we feel when we're there. And two of your projects really resonate with an emotional landscape through the use of visuals and soundscapes. So can we talk a little bit about Hypebeast New York City store that you did? Let's take a look at that. This is wow, that projection, I just love the look of that. I'm a big ocean iceberg form, and I feel like it really became a sculptural expression of mood and environment. How do you approach? So like you've talked about Blade Runner, so I know you're inspired by films and kind of really take that to life into this new digital generation. But how do you really approach the emotional journey when you do public environments like in retail space?
Yeah, so this project took place in like existing store by Hypebeast,
Yeah.
and it was a collaboration with Nat Geo. So Nat Geo, as you know, is a brand platform media company that showcases different like natural wonders in the world, around the world, with videos, right? Like videos and photos, and so like that's one of the drivers of why we incorporated videos, even though like I absolutely love like projection mapping, and like I always find a way to like incorporate it, but there was a reason, like we didn't like just use video for the video's sake, like we because we these footages are from Nat Geo, like and created, we asked for them, like can we like can we have like 3 videos that are like that convey that are references the collection that you use. And so like they sent us, like, because they have a massive gorgeous collection of videos. And so yeah, like I think like creating this like cinematic experience that was like just like a 1 minute of this like meditation on like this ocean, like just transporting you like beyond the clothes that you're wearing, sorry, not you're wearing, but like they're releasing, like relating that to what their inspiration came from, where the inspiration came from. So I would say like I guess I forget the initial question.
Well,
But
these like it doesn't look like a traditional product display. I feel like retail stores are really evolving to not just putting all of their merchandise out, but really creating kind of these sculptural displays, like really telling a story about their product, right?
yes.
And I'm curious as to like, as an artist, as a director, multi disciplinary director, how do you actually think about a retail space to feel intuitive? Like when I go in, I think people go in intuitively to shop, to buy something.
Mhm.
But when there's less product in there and it's starting to be like more like a sculptural thing, how do you still create that emotional invitation to be like, I want this?
Mm. So like I think there's benefit in the fact that it was a special display. So like creating a contrast with the surrounding environment, almost like it creating a stage for it to shine. So the choice of the sculpture was so that it's like you realize that it's like this is you're it's like it's having a moment, basically. Like the collection is um like compared to other displays that are in the store. um
The collection tells a story. And so did you come up with the story of that collection, or did you work with Nat Geo, or
so the clothes, I didn't design any of that. Like
yeah,
the clothes are like that was already created. And
yeah.
so like what I did was find out like what the collection was about, and then creating like audio concept of the audiovisual installation that used like imageries that are like used in the product prints to create this like more dimensionalized like time space medium that activated the product into like more of a like like non-traditional like film, I would say, like, but it's like more like a live cinema experience where it's like audio visual active like version of the clothes that
Yeah,
they
I'm curious, when you make a retail product more like a sculpture, when people walk in and see it, and the emotion is probably, oh my gosh, this is beautiful. I can understand the story. But do they veer away from touching it?
Well, so this product, the display that we had, the installation was, it wasn't designed to be touched.
Got it. Got
Like
it.
we designed it was actually fully enclosed, and we put a scrim that was like see through. So like like depending on like if the projection was on or not, you could see through it. There was there was space for touching it, but I think my approach is usually to like have moments that like you're it's used as like a almost like a character in the whole installation, like whole stage, but
Yeah,
also
you've gone from such big spaces and like multiple warehouses to like more of a smaller boxed behind glass like display. There's some really interesting things around size of space with these. Like is that one of your guardrails or parameters that you think about to like draw people's attention in? Is like you think about how much room do I have to kind of build that world?
100%. Yeah, I think like I try to create contrast with the existing space, the environment that I like usually like I work in site specific way. So within here, like this was like a maximum footprint like we used, and like creating like because Nat Geo is so expansive, such a big like it's about the whole universe. So wanted it to feel like it's like that footprint contained the universe.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's nice. Okay, let's shift from retail to ritual. Your project, The Life of Champagne, invites us into another. I mean, you're definitely a filmmaker. Everything is so cinematic, beautiful. You go through the process of fermentation, refinement, and release. It's not just, it's really kind of a provocation of stories. So take a look at this. I think it's pretty cool. Wow, I feel like we should be drinking champagne.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, let's pop it up.
So this was pacing across 3 different chapters, and it's so beautiful. I feel like you might have been inspired by team labs. I feel like I've been to a few team labs in Japan, and I'm like, oh my god, that just looks like something that would fit there. Can you tell me a little bit about how you use rhythm and form to guide emotional pacing in an experience like this?
Yes, for sure. So this project was like to give you a background, like it was commissioned by La Fête du Champagne, which is like the champagne festival, and they commissioned me to create a narrative that told a story, or like, actually they didn't commission me to do that. They were just like, we want something cool for this champagne festival. It's like,
It's definitely cool.
right, just like something like, it was like really vague. So my idea was to tell a story of like how champagne is created from the birth to popping, so like popping open and then drinking. So asked for 3 phases that takes place for the champagne production. So the beginning was press and refine is like a part 1, which is basically like in the field, and like I forget the technical terminologies of these, but you have to press the grapes and to get the extracts out. And then part 2 is like, and it's very much like like active in a field, like a very expansive.
Your work is so beautiful. Did you shoot all of this and do all the film work?
It was yeah, yes, we did. It was a combination of shooting and animation and archival footages that are like collecting from the field. But yes, the direction was to combine all those 3 things, and then like original content, and yeah. So I guess like my like the direction was like to create different senses of like feeling of being there, like being there with the grapes, basically, like, throughout this journey of the consumption, basically, like creation to consumption. So the first part is about like it's very much like a birth, like a very beginning of the birth. So it's like very expansive, it's very like there's the ground, like there's a like certain level of like world, establishing world. So that's part of the reason why we had like the field sequence, like starting from the earth. We saw like macro textures of like grapes like popping, and so
Right.
those were all like CGI.
Yeah.
And we intentionally did a CGI with some of them, and some were like live shot, because we wanted it to be like not super literal. Because it's meant to be like imaginative, like you're not the grape, you're not the maker, but you're supposed to feel like what that feels like, what it's like. So intentionally abstracting it. And then the second part is about it's about age, it's called Asian riddle, which is a technical terms for letting the champagne, like like liquid, stay in like age, like in a cellar for like days and like months and
Yeah.
years. So it takes a long time. So it's kind of like, it's almost like being in a womb. When I said that, the client didn't like that, but like I think it's like it's like being in a womb. You're like it's literally like there, waiting to be ready to be out in the
Yeah.
world.
I
So
think it makes sense, right?
yeah, so to tell that time, like the music that I used for this reel is actually from that sequence. So
Mm.
each of the 3 phases had a distinct sound and visual. The first one was very energetic. The second one is very like slow, like
Calming.
meditative, very like you know kind of like you're just kind of like there with it, like sit with it, and like feeling the time pass by, and like
Mhm.
um and then the last part, which is the popping part, which is it's about celebration. So like the champagne that we know, like how to experience. So that part had like like sparkling like color, like lights reflecting off of like the disco ball. There's like glitters. We use like transparent LED screen that kind of like had this sort of like shimmery effect to it.
Oh, that's nice.
he recreated this. So all of these are actually like installation that's also like original too. So first space, sorry, I keep going kind of jumping back around a little bit, but like the last part was like in this like, you know, smaller space with this like installation of screens are all around. The middle part, which is the Asian riddle, was like kind of designed to look like a cellar. That in the first part was a projection mapped space that was like very expansive and 360 environment.
So in a place like this, if one's film, sculpture, architecture, you know, you were talking a lot about like the creative process and the world building, but where in your process, or in what ways do you think about the audience? Because the audience, you know, you're building it for an audience. So how do you design intuitively that they know where they are, that they're present, that they know how to move through it, they know how to interact with something?
For this project in particular, like we created it so that it is 3 part. So we,
Yeah.
like let them know that. And in the beginning, like I think that it was kind of like I designed it so it's like yes, like there is like each part had like 5 minutes about approximately 5 minutes, but it's a narrative that isn't so like you sit down in a movie theater, you have to go from like beginning to end to understand the story. Like I think like we created it so that if you wanted to just like you go to the next space within like maybe like 2 minutes, that's fine.
Yeah.
Like I think if you wanted to stay in the whole thing because it loops, like if you
Okay.
stay and watch the whole thing and like watch it again even, that's fine too. Like I think like it wasn't for this project at least, like it was a linear journey because like you go from like one space leads to another, like there is actually like a path that you follow.
Yeah.
But and the way you follow it is like each space had an entrance that was like a curtain.
Yeah.
And it was in the video too, like we projected like the title of each space so that it's like part one, I forget the name, but like
Yeah.
like, and then a part two, like projection mapped, like title. So it's like almost like you're walking into like a new chapter.
Got it. Got
But
it.
that does lead to another space. But I guess like in terms of time of like how long you're supposed to stay in each space, it was very much like up to you. Like it's like we're not
Yeah.
forcing you to like sit there for a certain amount of time. Um,
Yeah. Oh, well, speaking of audience, let's take a moment and turn to our audience.
yeah.
I want you to actually think of a time you felt instantly moved in a space. Hopefully, you've been inspired by some of Sayoko's spaces that she's shared. What triggered that feeling? Was it light, sound, motion, the architecture, something else? Just let us know. So feel free to put those answers in the comments, and when you're doing it, go ahead and pose any questions to Sayoko. So sometimes intuition moves us to action, to dance, to play, to interact without needing instructions. It's kind of that muscle memory meeting sensory clarity. Just like you said, like with the curtain, people knew to walk through a curtain and kind of go into a new chapter with the Champagne Project. Another one of your projects, your dance practice, moves through meditation, music, full body expression. It's not just about the steps. It's about like, watch this. You've got to watch this. It's about really like them surrendering to the music.
For sure.
So I don't know about you, Sayoko, but when there is music on and people start dancing, I automatically start moving. I think of it as collective intuition that like one person starts moving, we all move our bodies. How do you design for that? Get people to move collectively?
Yeah, so this dance practice is a really thoughtfully curated experience. It was me and me doing the visuals throughout the night, through the whole thing, whole experience. But we have 3 parts also. Beginning, we had 3 musicians. First part was my friend Raphael. They're all my friends, but Raphael's shape language, who created this like very beautiful like flute instruction. It's like we called it instruction. So like it was like maybe like 30 minutes of um him guiding people through the energy. It's almost like a guided meditation.
Oh,
So like
nice.
so when you walk in, like at least for this project, like it's like we created so that people are at ease and kind of like gathering in a certain mindset like as you arrive. So we formed this like circle around in the space, so like everyone's like facing each other, so
Mhm.
everyone's like aligning the energy in one centralized energy. And
Mhm.
you don't walk in just like suddenly immediately just because you hear music you just start dancing. Like we gathered energy first, and then so it's like like the Star Wars
Build
thing,
the
it's like force
momentum.
shield. Yeah, creating a force shield, right? and
Yeah.
then and then the second part, which is like kind of like more like the video that you just watched, is like I think everyone's all warmed up. So second part was by our friend Rakul Jalpari, who they they created more like a sort of like a little bit more I don't want to say clubby, but more a club is great, but like just more dancier, more like everyone gather, like everyone like lose their lose themselves. So um I would say like that by that time, like everyone's a lot more warmed up, like ready to like enjoy it, like, be more loose and like kind of use their body. So and the part of this the thing that we did for this is like we projection mapped on the floor like a central like almost like a pool, like a
Mhm.
puddle in the middle that had different like um ocean theme, another ocean thing, but like ocean
Yeah.
theme, like circling like energetic things. So like so we saw like I think it was a ripples. There was another video visual that I made that was like kind of like a fish, like schooling of fish that's like circling around. So it's almost like it was like a we designed it almost like a square, like architecturally, like town squares often have like water feature in the middle, like
Yeah.
like malls do the same thing, like we
Like
got
a
this like
fountain. Yeah.
fountain in the middle, right? So like you kind of know like how to gather in like kind of like communal space, and people
Mhm.
started to interact with it, right? Like it's like because they were already like used to the idea of centralized focus. They were already used to the idea of dancing around each other, like being around each other from Raphael's like meditation, circular meditation, guided instruction. So um and and to me, like this is like a little different from regular clubbing, because like a lot of times people like look at DJ in the front, and like which is fine. Like I'm all for people to watch the DJ, great. But like also like we're there, like it's like they're together to like dance with each other. So um creating like a focus that's like away from the DJ, like nothing against DJs, but like just like focusing on the center, like each other, was like created through that guided instruction and the visual that was in the center. And like people were like really like interacting with the light, like going in and out of it, like
Oh, that's nice. Wow,
so
this is a beautiful reminder that intuitive design isn't just always about telling people where to go or creating that linear path, even though you had, again, kind of like chapters where you moved people through threes. I'm hearing a lot of threes in your designs as
yes.
well.
Well, like I think like it's not about telling people what to do per se, but like we do want to guide people, right? Like we do
Right.
want to like give
You have,
hints to people, like give some structures, so that way we are not lost. Like, okay, what do we do here? Like,
right.
um,
I call it
so
benevolent dictatorship.
yeah, we kind of have to like force shield, right? Like force
Yeah,
field.
exactly.
Okay. Got to create some map for people to play within. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I think like three like usually like allows people to gotta warm up, have a peak, and then like also I didn't mention this, but like after the dance set, there was also like a more ambient set, which is like more like cool
Mhm.
down by my friend Vivian
Yeah.
San Juan, who like create more like sort of calmer, more wind down into the night. So like it was a very much like we did really guide people like in a
Yeah.
very intentional way.
Yeah. Interesting. I really love the metaphor idea of also of like the town village center with the water and everything. I think that just learning more and more about your projects and your approach, it seems like you always have inspiration of history of something in the past or something you've seen that kind of you're taking it now into the future. It's really cool. The intuitive design also is about like collaboration, and it seems like you've worked with a lot of different artists and other creators, and like how do you get a collective to really be all on the sync on a same emotional journey. And you created tours, the touring visuals for artist Victoria Modesta, this cinema 4D content that she was totally immersed on stage. So let's take a look at that and then maybe unpack your relationship with artists. Very cool. So, tell us a little bit. This is a pretty big stage that you're working within. How did how do you actually design for these massive stages with like sound, lighting, performance all in play? It seems like your visuals here. How do you make sure that they seamlessly work and amplify rather than compete with what's on the stage?
Yeah. So I would I would say like so with Victoria's performance, like it's like a singular artist, right? Like she's like
Yeah.
on stage in the center, and like she's moving, she's singing. So we created this experience that felt very like centralized, like focus, and the way the visual itself was like almost like yes, it is a screen, like it's a video, but it's more architectural in a sense that you're into, like I designed it so that it feels like you're in like a psychic space, like
Mm.
inside of her soul. So it's designed to interact with the lights that's around it, like the the lighting elements inside the video are they also effect because it's a video, it's whether it's projection or LED screen, it emits light, right?
Oh
So
yeah, for sure. Bright
we
light.
kinda interact with everything is time coded, so like I created based like directly to the music that she created. So I guess that's like a kind of technical technique,
Yeah.
I would say. And also and I think I mentioned this before, but where because the visual was to tour, so like you don't really know like and what kind of environment it'll be. And I didn't necessarily like adjust to each stage, like we didn't have to,
Yeah.
because we designed it so they could be like mapped in different ways, for different
Oh.
canvases.
So
So
stay abstract art, I assume, works best in spaces like that when you're not sure exactly what the environment is.
I would say so, yeah. Like unless like if but I think like you can also um design it specific to stages. Like that's a whole other, like which we're going to go into next, but site specifically. But I think because this was designed to be more of an abstract environment, it did work for all kinds of like canvases.
So did you focus more on kind of a syncing with music and meaning your projections and on light and
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I mean, this was like like a singing, like singer, like time coded song. So
yeah,
as opposed to like visuals that are gonna loop for like a DJ set, for example. Like
yeah.
that like to be adaptable, or real time visual for, I guess, adaptability. So it was like kind of creating like a music video, like the whole whole visual, whole stage design was created to the song.
Oh, I like that. It's like creating a music video, but not for a 2D screen.
Yeah, exactly. It's to create the context for the music to happen.
Yeah, exactly. So tell me, what's the collaboration like between a designer and performer? Can you give any, like, if I'm a new creator and a performer reaches out to me, what are some things I should expect or
Yeah.
consider in this relationship?
So with Victoria, like it was very collaborative. She herself is very much a creative director herself. So she creates her own, like she's a bionic pop artist. She designs her own leg, which she amputated when she was 13. Like she creates like whole outfits. Creates whole worlds. So to know, like, depends on the artist, but like with her, she is very much a visionary herself. So to really study, like, ask like yes, like talk to her, but like observe her style first to like kind of like get in the mindset and of her, learn about her. And then yeah, like the way we work together was I usually create a deck. So
Yeah.
like it's a sequence of like study her song, and like create like a sequence of like mock-up of like each scene. So it's like
Mm.
every slide is like certain moment of the song. Because like I not only like directed it, but also like designed the whole set world, and also animated everything, edited. So I was able to like send like screenshots as I was going, like to like like not like once a deck, and like the concept was like she was down with it, like I just start to actualize it.
Yeah.
And that like helps us like communicate between each other, like okay, like how are we feeling about this, how is this working with what you're thinking, and get feedback, and yeah, just kind of co-developed over time. And
So very iterative process back and forth.
yeah, like, and not too many, but like just like stay here and keep in the loop. And
Lots of references and working with visuals.
yeah, and for the most part, like I really appreciate that she's like really trusted me to like just kind of run with it, and like
Yeah.
she was like really excited about everything that I was making. So um there wasn't too much like have to edit all over. Like there was none of that.
Yeah, definitely saying that intuition isn't passive, it's participatory.
Absolutely, yeah.
Really a relationship.
It's like the best to be like really collaborative, because like I said, it's like Victoria is very much of a creative director herself. So like it's really cool to like be inspired by her, but also like it's her performance. So it's like if unless it's like your personal project, like passion project, it's like a client, like you really want to make sure like she's having a really, like, really feels like this is represents her, right?
Right, right. I think this is a really good example of like intuition is very much about trusting each other, trusting the process, trusting your collaborators, even kind of trusting your audience.
Yeah.
And that goes right into another project of yours, Gordo, the Brooklyn Massage. Let's take a look at this, because this one is really a sensory exploration of another live music production. I think you were talking about more design specifically for a space. So here's a process where it's a high pressure live environment. How Tell us a little bit about who you worked with and how this one came to be.
Yeah, so Gordo is someone that I started working with at Coachella first. Like that was like he's been like he and I worked together for like like 3 or 4 shows, and it's we usually communicate through management. So it was like I mostly talked to the managers and producers of his show, and or his tours. And so again, like decks and like references like really like comes in handy for like communicating intent. This one, again, like I feel like it's very lucky that like he really just kind of usually liked whatever I was making. So
You
it
did all of the visuals for that, the whole.
yeah, well, not only visuals, but like this one in particular was like it was a full creative. So I was a creative director of this,
Right.
and there's a whole team of the visual artist, scenic builder. So as a creative director, I designed the overall concept of the overall show, as in like what is the theme of this. So like the theme was like like we called it like a scaffolding city. So like the whole everything came together like a larger than life um scaffolding city where it's kind of like going to into the underground of like the party. So and like everything was kind of like sort
I
of
gotta just ask, is Blade Runner your favorite movie?
actually it's not. But I am influenced by just like underground scenes in general of
Yeah.
like every day, like just New York.
Yeah.
So it's just like a world that I'm familiar with. And I think like the type of music that Gordo plays, like he's like a techno, like house, like reggaeton. So like it just kind of like influences like kind of like community oriented spaces that are like to me you know, good reference for him. So anyway, so I guess like for him, like it is for this project the scenic element was part of it. Like these giant speakers, well they were actual speakers, but like it's like boxes that are like, you know, more larger than life. Like the way like we the scaffolding was used to create this platform for him to stand, and for also audience, like he wanted, like one thing that he wanted that came from him was that he wanted people to be on the stage like in like kind of a party with him. So
Oh, that's fun.
yeah,
You
he actually didn't even want to be yeah, he actually didn't want to even want to be on the stage at first. Like he wanted to be on the ground. Like he didn't really want to be on a stage. So
Yeah.
like so that was a whole part of like, you know, kind of that drove the concept to make it feel like he's part of everybody.
Yeah.
Um,
Immersed in the center. Yeah.
yeah. So like he's like we're creating for the audience, and also like you know, Gordo himself is the audience too.
Mhm.
So and yeah, so I guess like my kind of go want to go into the process of making it. So yes, the creative concepting, yes, like there's that but also it's very collaborative. It's this kind of show is like massive, so like we have our team of like visual artists that are like making, so like animation, editing, and creating the content that will be used to create this show.
About how
um,
many people are working on something like this that you're
um
usually directing?
I would say for this one, like the video content, it was like maybe like 3 4 artists.
Yeah.
And then we also have a VJ who's like on at the show. Like there are like a couple of DJs that we VJ, so not DJs, like VJ, who
Mhm.
are like working with the content that we prepared. And because it's Goro's set is like he's like infamously like likes to play for like 8 hours straight, which is crazy. But he like doesn't leave the DJ booth for like 8 hours.
Wow.
So we needed to make it so that it's like kind of, you know, works for the entirety of the show.
Yeah.
So yeah, like it'll be like we have this amazing resident Bricker Mirage VJs that like are just basically like, you know, kind of going with the flow of the music to activate certain visuals.
That's
We did have a sequence that we, you know, prepare
right.
of like what kind of like do this, use this portion for the first half of the or first 1 hour, this portion for the second hour, you know, kind of thing. But
Mhm.
it's really important for the VJ to be like almost performing, like to be performing with the DJ, because like it's like very much live. You know, it's you have to feel the music to create that universe. So like me as a creative director, like it's like kind of like really trusting everyone to like really understand the music and like flow with the performance, because
Right.
that's what the essence is about. And then yeah, there's also like
How
a
do
lot
you build that trust though? Like, are you working with these with the other departments and creators quite regularly, or are they
no.
sometimes new and you're like, how do you kind of quickly get? And how long did you work on this project?
This project we worked on for like a month or two. And then but the VJs come in like literally like the day of.
Oh, wow. Okay.
We meet at the venue a lot of times and like kind of like communicate. And how do we build that trust? Like I think we just it's just about like communicating, like just talking about the vibe and like kind of like, you know, like energy that we're trying to convey. And like
Mhm.
we may like we also like lighting designers. That's another whole huge very important aspect of these shows. And our lighting designers, like again, same thing with VJs, like they know the colors, like they know the kind of like sort of moments that they might want to hit. But like again, because it's a DJ set, not like a time coded like choreographed show, it's really about like really like feeling the music.
Finding the
So,
flow.
I think that's building the trust is it really depends, but a lot of times like it's not so much about like how long we've been working together. It's just like knowing that we're all here because we know what we're doing, and um like trust that like it's like communicate our intent as much as we can, but like trust each other to really like tap into the energy.
Yeah, and follow through, be together. Yeah, and that's true because the next project of yours I want to share, Womb of Stars, that was created in 1 week. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's take a look at that. So this one you're doing in real time and created it in 1 week. So I'm really curious about like your choices in the moment, especially when you're working in a new space with unfamiliar tools or technology. What's that like?
So this show, I yes, we created in 1 week. It's a 45-minute show with like different sequences. Um, I would say was it such a tool? I use a combination of Unreal Engine and also uh this VJ software Resolume. And yes, we I was controlling it real time, but there's to an extent like how like again same thing like creating a sequence that like
Your
goes the
packages.
narrative, um and um I I didn't do any of the projection mapping. There was like a space was already came with the mapping of in the 3D. So like like the mapping itself was, we have the technologist taking care of the complexity of that. Like I what I'm creating is like what's inside it. So
It's interesting. It sounds like you knew the tools you were using in there and you were creating. I like the idea of creating this space. Let me go on to another question. Just, give advice to creators. This is like live production in the moment. How do new creators that are doing live production for the first time really trust their intuition? What advice would you give to them?
um I think it's yeah, I think like as like artists, like we're like there to, I would say, like entertain or like kind of bring gift to the people. So like we really wanted like our energy that we had for this, like me and my friend Adri and like the who made the music, amazing world. We really wanted to convey this feeling of like going into this other like spiritual realm. So we don't know what spiritual realm actually is, but we imagine what it might be like. So um we yeah, like I guess like we're creating it so that it's like takes people on a ride.
Right.
That was kind of the intention.
Right. Well, as we wrap up today, I'd love to share a few questions from the audience. How did you first get into designing for concerts and live performances? I mean, when we look at the plethora of projects you've worked on experiential branding for groups like Nike, to actual artists and live shows, and smaller, more intimate shows. How did you get started?
So for the music, it actually came in like later part of my career so far.
Yeah.
The last like 3 years. I just like I've always designed. My background's in architecture, so like I've always designed spaces, but I really wanted the space to move. And it's like unless you're doing like robotics or something, like it's like it wasn't that, like it was I wanted to move with music. So I just like I was talking to my friends who are made music, like one friend's DJ's duo, music producer duo. They had a show at um planetarium,
Mhm.
and they were like, we do want to make visuals for it. And like at the time I don't think I hadn't made any visuals yet, like, and I had no idea how to do that, but I was like yes. And there's like as long as there's it's like projection mapped space. Like it's a huge. It's ready to go. Like, like I don't do too technical stuff. Like I'd make the what's inside it. So I was like, oh, that's a canvas. So, and I don't need to buy anything like physical, like materials to make this. I can just download Cinema 4D, watch tutorials. I get that show too. I made it in 1 week. I like to do things really, really fast. So yeah, like I made it, like I just learned the 3D model, the 3D rendering program, and I just made it.
That's awesome. So it sounds like you pick up new tools pretty easily. What's like your workflow process look like?
To learn?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, I think students are always a little stuck on like where to begin and everything. And it seems like, well, I do something in a week or I just pick that up. I mean, I think I'd be curious to learn kind of your methods.
yeah, and I get everyone's different, but I work really well under pressure.
Mhm.
So I like having deadlines. Like as students, you guys have like deadlines, which is great. Like it's if you're out in the world, like with, you can do whatever you want. Like I still encourage to get deadlines because it's pushes you.
Yeah.
And I would say for me, I'm better as a collaborator. Like I'm not like a singular artist in a vacuum.
Yeah.
So like knowing that there's collaborators, so like for example, it's like a musician, like just like even if they're not making it, even if they're like down with whatever you make, just like send it to them and be like, hey, do you like this? It's like, yeah, okay. It's just so that helps me like move forward a lot. Um, what else? Yeah, I think like into the tools, like tutorials, like it's just kind of like know what you like, have a vision for what you want. Because like I think like it's a lot of pressure to learn new programs, but like I think if you have a goal of like what you have in mind you want to make, at least like sketch it out in advance. I usually collage
Mhm.
before digitally to kind of get a vision for what I want to get to. And
Yeah.
even if that's not the exact thing that you end up with, like um it helps you like learn, like know what to learn, I guess.
Yeah.
Because like you can learn infinitely, but
Yeah.
just need to know what you need for the goal, right? So
Yeah.
that's how you would learn new programs.
Yeah, well, that's great. Well, Sayoko, thank you for sharing your work and wisdom with us today and for showing us that intuitive design isn't just about simplifying an interface or smoothing a transition. It's really about trusting the unseen, which I see through all of your projects and the collaborations you're doing with other artists. So, to everyone joining us, you may leave today remembering that intuition is not a shortcut, it's really a deep internal knowing. Trust your gut, right? Not only as an artist, I think we both trust our guts, but also trust your audience a little bit too, and how they want to explore their senses and the story and the experience you're providing with them. So follow Sayoko on Instagram at Sayoko, and would love it if you'd follow us too at Texas Immersive and me personally at Erin B. Reilly. Subscribe to our newsletter for future episodes, workshops, behind the scenes access. And Being Immersed is made possible by donations from people like you. So check the link below to help contribute and grow this community of immersive creators. So until next time, stay curious.